So Sixer fans have pretty much been tapped out of Summer League. No VJ Edgecombe. The team is getting smacked around. But in case you missed it, Daryl Morey spoke to the media and had a ton of interesting things to say about VJ Edgecombe, the updates on Joel Embiid, Jared McCain, and more, the Quentin Grimes free agency, Yabusele, and a whole bunch else. So we're going to dissect those comments. Also, we have a projected final depth chart. The question is this team enough? Should they be feared in the East? We're going to break it all down and more. But welcome in to Philly Take with RB. Do me a favor, hit that notification bell. Don't miss the videos or the live streams. And leave a like at the end of the video. Now, before we get into Daryl Morey's press conference and a bunch of interesting stuff, we're going to go through a quick slide here of Summer League archives, all right? We have Jared McCain and VJ Edgecombe smiling, doing interviews together. I'll be honest, man. I mean, I do miss this stuff from last year, but I'm actually glad I didn't go out there, because imagine flying all the way to Vegas in bad weather and then VJ Edgecombe most likely not playing a game in Summer League. The team's getting smacked around. It's cool to make connections and talk to people, in the gym and stuff like that. But I mean, this Sixer Summer League has been pretty much a wash. But anyway, McCain and VJ also talking with Cooper Flagg here, the #1 overall pick, who's had a great Summer League. And yeah, man, just connecting, vibing, you know the deal. Here we have Nick Nurse, Tyrese Maxey, and the newest Sixer, Trendon Watford, at power forward. So those guys, obviously chatting it up. Maxey and Watford, good friends. And then you have a clip of Jared McCain running over to Tyrese Maxey to dap him up. And the funniest thing here is he didn't even realize Watford was sitting there. Maxey's like, yo, look, it's your power forward right here. McCain's like, my bad. And then he shakes his hand. So that's what we have going on at NBA Summer League. Really the most exciting stuff. And then you had Tyrese Maxey join the broadcast. And this was one of my favorite quotes in a while from him. He says, Joel's great. I talk to him probably once or twice a week. Joel Embiid is the biggest competitor I know, and it's not even close. So, once again, when it feels like everybody's against Joel and the world doesn't believe in him, Tyrese Maxey always comes through for the big fella. He's there to believe in his guy. And I also like this. Maxey told ESPN that he wants to emphasize playing off the ball more and improving as a playmaker. He mentions that Trendon Watford can also play a Draymond Green type of role. So, a lot of praise for his boy. We'll see what Trendon Watford can do. Is Trendon Watford enough? Do the Sixers have enough depth? We'll talk about that a little later. But we have to get into Daryl Morey and his quotes. Now, shout out to Sixers Adam for putting out this entire article filled with stuff. We don't have time to go through all of it. But I'm just going to go one by one and react to some of Daryl Morey's quotes. He talked about VJ Edgecombe's injury. And this is what he said, quote, he hurt his wrist, sort of a day-to-day thing. He did parts of practice, and it'd be more today, and we'll see how it feels. So, yeah, we're hoping to have him back out there. Everyone's excited, including us and VJ, mostly VJ. VJ is the most annoyed by this. He wants to be out there. Our medical staff is trying to be smart about it. So, let me get this straight. It goes from a thumb contusion to a thumb sprain. He's now missed 4 consecutive games. And Daryl Morey says that he has a wrist injury. So which one is it? Don't you understand how Sixer fans get frustrated about this stuff, man? You tell us one thing, then the next, and then you say he's going to be reevaluated, and then at some point, we don't see him for weeks. It's just annoying. It's annoying. I hope VJ's fine. I hope we see him out there next game, but it's hard to get any type of clarity with the Sixers medical staff, and it just continuously happens. So, I mean, who knows what to believe? Morey on if he expects VJ to return in Summer League. Quote, I frankly don't know. It's really going to come down to symptoms, and I understand, we just went through that for a whole season. So it just doesn't feel optimistic that he's going to be there. And like I said, Summer League is kind of just a wash at this point. And then Morey talked about the other guard, Quentin Grimes, who we still don't have an update. I'm here sitting every day waiting for Quentin Grimes to sign, and it feels like we're not even close. Morey on Quentin Grimes' ongoing restricted free agency. Quote, we've had discussions recently with his representation, and we hope to work things out. I don't have much more detail. I understand the Sixers standing on their feet and, making it known, hey, we're not budging. Here's our number. Here's what we're doing. Like I said, you don't really want to piss him off, but at the same time, Grimes, what are you waiting for, man? I know there's a couple other RFAs out there, but the market is dried up. Unless a team starts trading everybody and creating this magical cap space right now, I don't see anybody else giving you more money. So the Sixers have every right to stand where they're at, but on Quentin Grimes' side, like, what are we trending towards here? You know, are we just going to sit here and wait all off season and then just sign it? Like, it just gives off a weird feel and like you don't really want to be here. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. It feels like they're going to bring Grimes back, but I guess the question is, what will the number be? Morey on how he feels about the state of the Sixers roster. Quote, I think we went in with a big goal of being younger and more athletic among the group that will likely be on the floor. I feel like we've done that. I think around Joel and Paul, I think pretty much every rotation player is 27, 28 or younger. So yeah, we're looking forward to that and optimistic on where things are at with Joel. So like I said a couple weeks ago, I understand the premise and I think it's the right one, but I feel like Daryl Morey believes that he's building the next like OKC Thunder or the next Pacers or the next Rockets. And you have to take into account that Joel and Paul make up 85% of the cap, or, 65. And then you add in Maxey, which is like 92. And the Sixers play around Joel and Paul and Maxey, right? They play slower. That's their identity. So yeah, you can get younger and athletic. I still think you need more forward depth, but you still have to eventually change the way you play. It's not just going to be strictly based on personnel, but also on strategy and scheme and things like that. But that's just my personal opinion. Daryl Morey opens up on the Guerschon Yabusele stuff yet again. He says that sucked. We got several questions on RFA. I do think that overall structure played into that. We offered Yabu the most we could that wouldn't limit us and our ability to retain Quentin. That was above the minimum. I've seen reports saying that that wasn't true. It was definitely below what he ended up getting. So at this point, somebody's lying. Either Yabu's lying or Morey. I don't really see the point for Yabusele to lie, right? Like, it felt like he wanted to be back here, so why would he say the Sixers offered him a minimum? So I don't know. That's a little bit weird. Daryl Morey on the recent signings of Jabari Walker and Dom Barlow. I think Jabari and Barlow we were excited to get. One thing to speak about learning from last season was when we had our key players out, Joel primarily, that challenged our depth at the big spot. Yeah, you think? Everybody got hurt. We need bigs. We need forwards. I keep saying this. I do think us moving earlier on two-way guys was an advantage in that, while the minimums around the league get squeezed in general in these systems. I think being able to get Jabari and Dominic and say, hey, we think you'll have a role, even if it's a two-way, that is an edge. We were thrilled. Daryl Morey on the state of the Eastern Conference. I think it's open in the East. That's a fair characterization. Obviously, we weren't the only team that's unfortunately gone through a lot of injuries. That opened things up. We have to give respect to the teams last year like Cleveland and New York. We're going to have to prove that we're sort of up there with those upper echelon teams. But if all things come together, we can be right there. Daryl Morey says Paul George is doing well physically and mentally and is excited to get back out there. Daryl Morey on what attracted the team to Trendon Watford. Quote, we felt like in general we needed to get players in Jabari and Barlow. I'm going through our later positions, and then Trendon, all sort of part of this sort of push to get younger and more versatile. Yes, but again, you still need more. Like, all respect to these guys, but they have been either backups or just, another guy. You still need a guy, Daryl. I understand you're trying to get younger and athletic, but you're also kind of working on two different timelines here because you have Joel and you have Paul George. So anyway, that's my thought on it. Daryl Morey on his expectations for PG moving forward. He's one of our best defensive anchors, one of the better defensive players in our opinion. He had a down shooting year, which everything would expect that will come back up as he gets more open looks. Morey on how Watford's ability to run the offense will help empower Maxey to play off ball. That's more for Coach Nurse. I would say in general, I think Nurse wants to have everyone sort of be someone who can put the defense in jeopardy and make a play. Daryl Morey on how Jared McCain is doing physically as he recovers from the torn meniscus. Quote, he's on track. He just met with the doctor that did his surgery. Everything is nominally on track. He's on track to be where he should be by training camp. Morey on if Embiid remains on track as well. Also on track, yeah, that would be my best anticipation at this point. Morey on if the Sixers are completely dependent on Embiid being healthy. I think for us to be a championship team, we need all three of our guys healthy. I don't think we can do it without that. I would like to say that, but I don't see it. So yeah, we're very dependent on all those guys, including Joel. So again, I mean, if those guys are healthy, sure, the Sixers have a shot. Every team's dealing with a plethora of injuries, and if you're not healthy, by the time you get to the dance, you have no shot. Daryl Morey on why the team brought back Eric Gordon and Kyle Lowry. Quote, I think Eric gave us quite a few good minutes last year. Obviously it seemed like we had more hand and wrist injuries than any team I've ever had. He did shoot 40% from three, and then Kyle was dealing with a lot of injuries. We do see him as an important mentor and coach on the floor and coach, and I have not written off that he can give us quality minutes during the season. Daryl, if you believe this, man, that's just straight up delusional, right? Kyle Lowry, like I said, is meant to be an assistant coach right now, and if you're saying he's an important mentor and coach, he should be in a coaching role. He should not take up a roster spot. Same thing with Eric Gordon, even though I knew that he was coming back because he had a player option. But, I mean, let's be real, man. Let's be real. You want to get younger, then why are you playing Eric Gordon and Kyle Lowry? The last thing I thought was very interesting was Daryl Morey talked about having 4 guards. Morey on whether or not Maxey, McCain, Grimes, and Edgecombe can all play as much as they would like to. I do know in my conversations with Nick, he does a good job. He's generally going to put the best players out there. Those 4 guys we think will likely be 4 of our top players on the team. And then he also said this about building around 4 guards and whether or not that has impacted Quentin Grimes. Quote, I think I could see possible lineups where 3 of them are playing, but you're right. It's hard to get to a 4. How Quentin is factoring everything in, I will say that's more of a Quentin question. He was arguably our best player at the end of last season, so I think he's got a lot of confidence he'll be one of the closing guys out there. So, not really committing to anything, but I agree 100%. That's what I've been bringing up the last few months here. Like, yes, VJ's a great player, but 4 guards, like, you know, they're all on the same timeline. And you're going to have to make tough decisions at one point, and you're still going to have to bring in quality forward depth. So, does that prevent that from happening? Guess we'll wait and, we'll see how it goes. Lastly, I want to talk about the Sixers projected depth chart real quick. ESPN put this graphic out during Summer League. First off, ESPN needs to realize that Alex Reese is no longer on the team. And this is an interesting depth chart to say the least. But Ricky Council may not even be there. Hunter Salas they have on the depth chart. So I don't even know. But do you think this lineup is the best lineup here? I mean, it kind of feels like probably the lineup, or maybe Oubre starts and VJ comes off the bench. But there was a report that was put out from Tony Jones, and he said the Sixers are essentially done with constructing their roster outside of re-signing Grimes. And he also said Joel Embiid has not returned to on-court activities. So who knows about Joel? Like I said, there's a lot of stuff up in the air. Obviously, they need him. You're the highest paid player on the team. If you're not there, it's going to be really hard to build a winner. But at the same time, when you look at this depth chart, I mean, yeah, it's a talented roster. It's a talented team. But I still think they're going to have to either trade for a power forward or, maneuver something out in the next couple months, find a hidden gem after someone gets cut in training camp. I don't know. But I just think we see the same issues that recur year over year over year. And when push comes to shove in the playoffs, this team gets hounded on the glass. They get out physicaled, out toughness, all that stuff. And I just think they're still going to need a little bit more. Like, again, it feels like you're working with 2 different timelines, from the Joel PG timeline to the young guys timeline. So what is it, And while I really want to believe in Trendon Watford, and I really think Jabari Walker was a great 2-way signing, he's not even on this list, which is crazy. I mean, that right there shows why people enjoy this kind of content in these different outlets like this one over in ESPN, because they don't really pay attention. Like, they have Alex Reese on the depth chart, and he literally got waived. Jabari Walker should be on there before 3 of the guys on this list. But anyway, as much as I want to believe in those guys, I still think it's a work in progress. And I still feel like a lot of the same issues are going to reside with this team, especially if guys like Gordon and Lowry are also getting minutes. So it's going to be interesting to see how Nurse can kind of complement all of these guards together and come up with the best lineups. Maybe there will be combinations of 4-guard lineups. Maybe there will be times where they're playing small ball. Who knows, right? And we have to see that creativity from Nick Nurse. We did not see it last year. His back was up against the wall with a bunch of guys out as well, but it really was just not pretty. So How many games do you think this team could win? Is this team good enough? If Joel and PG are healthy, yeah, they can be a top 4 team in the East. Absolutely. Can they win it all with this lineup? It's hard for me to see that right now until they address the power forward position. But those are my thoughts. Give me all of yours down below. As always, appreciate everybody for tapping in. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.